All right, yeah! Thank God for fantasy football. I'm Buster Brown, and the show is called Redemption Rehab. Today, we're looking at the Week 12 Waiver Wire report in the NFL. We've got good news and we've got bad news. The good news is every team's playing this weekend because it's Thanksgiving weekend. The bad news is the injuries and the chaos are mounting every week, including this week. But we've got answers for you, starting with this guy. Zach Charbonneau of the Seattle Seahawks. He's a running back. We told you last week Kenneth Walker has an injury history. He's out this week with an oblique injury on Thursday night against San Francisco. Last week, he had 15 carries for 47 yards, but he caught 6 balls for 22 yards. That's a big deal, man. If we've been telling you for weeks, go out and get this guy because Kenneth Walker has a history of injuries, and here he is hurt. Zach Charbonneau of the Seattle Seahawks. Go out, pick him up, put him in your lineup. Who else do we like this week? How about Ty Chandler of the Minnesota Vikings? He's another running back. We told you about him last week. Everybody went out and picked him up. He had 10 rushes for 73 yards, and he caught 4 balls for 37 yards. And he plays the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. So he's going to have a big game this week. If you can pick up Zach Charbonneau or Ty Chandler, you better pick him up, put him in your lineup, and win. Here's some other players we like this week. How about Jeff Wilson of the Miami Dolphins? Last week he was inactive. Well, that's a big deal. Why didn't he play? Because they had Devin Achane playing and they had Salvon Ahmed playing. Well, guess what? Those guys aren't playing this week. So it's going to be the Jeff Wilson show along with Raheem Mostert. So go out and put Jeff Wilson on your bench and he'll help you later on, maybe in the playoffs of your fantasy football league. Who else do we like? How about this guy, Samaje Perine? He plays for the Denver Broncos. He had 7 catches for 60 yards, and he had only 1 rush for 7 yards. They play the Cleveland Browns, so don't expect much. But if you're in desperate need, pick him up, put him in there. I don't expect him to have a big game because they're playing the Browns defense. But, hey, beggars can't be choosers. If you don't have anybody else on your waiver wire, Samaje Perine's the guy. Look, if you need a wide receiver this week, we've been talking about Rashid Shaheed of the New Orleans Saints. Michael Thomas got hurt. He's on IR. He's not going to play the rest of the year. But I'll tell you right now, they were on bye last week, and people may have caught Rashid Shaheed. He's a wide receiver. They're playing the Atlanta Falcons. Go out and get him. We also talked about for weeks now Demario Douglas of the New England Patriots. He was on bye last week. They play the New York Giants. He's going to have a great game. So make sure you check out your waiver wire and see if Demario Douglas is available. And we've been talking about Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. He's a wide receiver. He had 4 receptions for 46 yards on 6 targets. He also had 3 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown. And they play the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day. It's going to be a shootout. If you can see any of these 3 guys on your waiver wire, go out and pick them up and put a lineup this week. Who are some other wide receivers we like this week? How about Elijah Moore for the Cleveland Browns? He's put up double digits points the last 2 weeks. Last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had 6 catches for 60 yards. And this week they play the Denver Broncos. So look for him to have a big game. And we've been telling you for weeks now about Khalil Shakir for the Buffalo Bills. He's a wide receiver. He had 3 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown on 4 targets. And he plays the Philadelphia Eagles' weak secondary. And how about this guy, Justin Watson, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver. He had 5 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown on 11 targets. And they play the Las Vegas Raiders. Any of those 3 guys are guys I'd pick up and put in my lineup this week. Who are guys I'd have on my watch list? How about Odell Beckham? Last week, he had 4 catches for 116 yards, but he got hurt. They play the Chargers, and then they're on bye. I'm not sure if Odell's going to play this week, but I'd have him on my radar and maybe put him on my bench And this thing, how about the Arizona Cardinals depth chart? Let's take a look at their wide receivers. Kyler Murray came back, so he's going to throw to whoever he wants to. Guys I would be looking at, Trey McBride. Eventually, Zach Ertz going to come back, and it'll affect Trey McBride. He's a tight end. But look at the wide receivers. Rondale Moore last week, he had 1 catch for 48 yards and a touchdown. And look at Greg Dortch. He's over here, his backup. He had 6 catches for 76 yards on 8 targets. And I'll tell you what, the guy we talked about in our NFL draft preview show was Michael Wilson. If you get a chance, check out those NFL draft preview shows. We do them every April, and Michael Wilson was our sleeper pick. And I'll tell you what, if he gets some playing time, don't be surprised if he's the number 1 receiver next to Marquise Brown, who hasn't done anything all year. Let's check out some tight ends we like. Okay, if you need a tight end this week, maybe you had Mark Andrews. You can see here, here's the depth chart of the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Andrews is right here, and who's his backup? Isaiah Likely. We've been talking about him for years on this show. This kid's a wide receiver playing tight end. He hasn't done a thing all year. I suggest you pick him up, put him on your bench, see if he does anything. Who else do we like at tight end? How about this guy? Michael Mayer of the Las Vegas Raiders. He plays the Kansas City Chiefs. Last week, he was 4 for 46. Another tight end we like, Cade Otton. Cade Otton's on a lot of waiver wires. Nobody believes in the guy. But last week, he had 4 catches for 49 yards on 5 targets. And a guy that's been a sleeper pick in most leagues is Donald Parham Jr. of the Los Angeles Chargers. Last week, with Gerald Everett hurt, he had 4 catches for 57 yards on 6 targets. This week they play the Baltimore Ravens, and Donald Parham's had 4 touchdowns on the season. Hey man, if you're in dire need of a tight end, any of these guys will help you. You need to see if they're on your waiver wire. You need to go pick them up. And any of those guys I just mentioned are okay to put in your lineup for week 12 of the NFL season. Who else do we like this week? Let's check out the facts. Okay, maybe you need a quarterback this week. I'll tell you what, man, maybe you got lost Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, or you're one of those suckers that believe in Zach Wilson. Why not check out Jake Browning of the Cincinnati Bengals? Last week, he came in replace of Joe Burrow. He completed 8 of 14 for a touchdown. And he also ran the ball 4 times for 40 yards. He plays the Pittsburgh Steelers, so don't be surprised if Jake Browning has a decent game. There's not much left at this point in the season because people pick up quarterbacks for the playoff run. But if you need somebody for a week, these are the guys that are available. Hey, if you need a defense, how about the Miami Dolphins? They play against the New York Jets. They're throwing out Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle, who's he? He's a veteran quarterback. And I'll tell you what, Miami's going to eat him up. Who else do we like? Denver Broncos versus Cleveland. We told you about Dorian Thompson-Robinson coming in to play against Denver. I'm pretty sure the Denver defense is going to eat him up. And I'll tell you what, if you need a good kicker, how about Cario Santos? I'll tell you what, this kid's a good kicker. He plays for the Chicago Bears. I'll tell you what, they got their quarterback back, Justin Fields. And last week, Cario Santos with Justin Fields on the playing quarterback was 4-4 on field goal attempts with a long of 53, and they play the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night. Go out and put Cario Santos in your lineup, and you might get double-digit points. Okay, that's it for the Week 12 Waiver Wire Report. I'm Buster Brown. The show is called Redemption Rehab. Good luck.